Hello, my name is Tom Bergian, and this is a presentation entitled Don't Depend on Someone Else Being Your Writing Cheerleader. And this is for new authors writing for their first novel. This can also be used for someone that has already written their first novel and needs a refresher for something that is going to help them for their second novel. Now, you're thinking to yourself, who is this guy and why should I listen to you? Well, I myself am an author. My first book, Family Business, is on Amazon.com, so feel free to check it out. I'm also a member of the Fairfield County Writers, and I also write on the side on fanfiction.net. I've also done some classes online with several people that have held seminars and sold several books. So I'm been where you are, and I'm still learning myself, but I believe, like you believe now, that I was meant to write. The outline of this presentation reduced to 4 points. Outline, outline, outline is the first one. The do's and don'ts of writing, traditional versus self-publishing, and marketing tips. My goal in my presentation is to share my strategy and websites that I found when I was writing my first novel with you. Please don't go through this entire presentation and just watch it and then towards the end say to yourself, what was the point? There will be a lot of things I'll be sharing. Please take mental notes or actual notes. Towards the end, I will provide some websites so you can contact me if you have any additional questions or if you'd like to share experiences. I would love to hear them. Okay, so first point, outline. Don't lose focus. You have an idea that you got from reading your first novel, watching your favorite movie, your favorite show. Now you're inspired to write your novel. Great. Pen to paper. What happens is, if you don't do that, you will lose your motivation. The value of actually putting pen to paper is more valuable than the greatest idea. Why? Because your characters become real. Your situation becomes real. Your story becomes real as soon as it becomes something you put on paper. So point 2, some do's and don'ts in writing. So this is where you've taken your outline of ideas and you're ready to flesh out your ideas in a 3-point act. In other words, your first act is introducing your main character and the world. The second is introducing the trigger of the conflict. And the third one is resolving the conflict. This is the fun part, where ideas will come at you at inconvenient times. I'm talking about 3 o'clock in the morning, and you should be sleeping, but you have these great ideas that are coming at you that you just have to write it down. Notebook. You're driving to work, and all of a sudden you have this great idea, but you have nothing but green lights. Park in the parking lot, then write down your ideas. Now, work with other writers. That's going to be the best thing that you can do, because you're going to feed from their experience, and you're going to get great hugs. Writers give great hugs, by the way. Another thing to do, tell people that you're working on a novel. That is a mistake that I made in writing in private, and 3 months down, when it was ready to go, that's when I decided to tell people about my novel. And the response was, what? That's a bad response. You want people to buzz about your writing. Like any movie, they have trailers 6 months ahead of time. Now, some don'ts to avoid. Do not review your writing. Review, review, review. Because you are human and you will make mistakes. Research your genre. So if you're someone that loves to write romance, see what other people have written. If you're doing something that's different or the same, how are they doing their cover letters? How are they describing their stories? See if they can do something similar to what you're doing. Now, don't expect immediate sales. It's a very big market. So, what's important is that you see your novel through. If you're someone that gets immediate sales, fantastic. God bless you. But if you don't, that's fine. You're in this for the long term. You're following your passion through, and that's what's important. Write what your passion is, not what's popular. I made that mistake. In my first couple revisions of my book, I was writing what was popular. And I noticed that as soon as I switched from what was popular to what my passion was, writing became much easier. I advise you to do the same. Next is your book cover. Your book cover encapsulates your image, your story in one perfect picture. So the next thing you need to be ready for is know what your story is about. Be able to tell someone what your story is in a few sentences. Then be able to pick that perfect image to encapsulate that 1-2 lines. That's where the research comes in. Go online and figure out what someone is doing that helps explain what that image looks like. What I did was exactly that, because my story was about an assassin to protect his sister from the mafia. And I decided, alright, I wanted the brother who was a hired gun to have his weapon of choice back to back with his sister with her weapon of choice, her faith, rolls or beats in the hand. So I looked online. There is a good amount of imagery that I picked from to show artists to say, this is what I wanted to have on my book cover. Now this is where my dream met reality, in that I had an idea to have a budget for everything. I'm talking about editing, I'm talking about copywriting, the whole process to be $200 to $500. Well, the reality was their estimates for just the book cover alone was $200 to $500, and that's on the low scale. So when I say research, 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 understand that that is also involving cost. Now, this is not to scare you, but just to paint this reality that does exist. So there are free options that do exist on Amazon via CreateSpace or Wix.com. And this is what my book looks like now. I used the websites that were available to me that fit my budget, and it was great because it perfectly showed exactly what I wanted as an image for my book cover. So when doing your book cover, be prepared to learn how to adjust for your budget and adjust for your image accordingly. Now, here's what a confirmation page looks like. This is where I went to CreateSpace.com, I downloaded the file and my cover letter and said I was ready to publish. They sent me a copy to review, and instead I took pictures, I'm talking about 10, and shared on Facebook. I made other orders to send out to other people, and I made it ready to be ordered to be print on demand. But there was a problem. More issues. Because guess what I didn't do? I didn't review my book. You as an author own the process of reviewing your book from beginning to end. You continually are responsible for your book, how it looks, how it reads. To give you an example, there's a movie, Follow That Yellow Bird. It's a Sesame Street movie, so kind of spoilers if you haven't already seen it, where a count towards the end counts the end credits. Towards the end, he's ecstatic on the number of credits he's read. You want your reader to be that happy, to the point where they just faint with excitement. And not because they count the number of issues. So review, review, review. Point 3. Traditional publishing versus self-publishing. Now, I'm not here to say one's better than the other. You can pick either, you can pick both. There's pros and cons with each option. With traditional publishing, it will be very hard as a new author for you to get representation. Again, I'm not here to scare you, to give you some thick skin. Because as an agent, they're looking for someone that's sellable and has a platform. Now, I did not know as a new author what a platform was. And if you don't know, a platform is someone that has an established base to be able to contact their potential buyers in regards to what novel you're writing. Or if you're going out to speak on an event, you'll be able to communicate to people so they can go to the event. So what that means is, do you have a Facebook page? Do you have a Twitter account? Do you have other accounts online that gives you a presence that people know that you exist? That's a platform. Now, with traditional publishing, with an agent, they will have websites and they'll ask you for a query letter. They want A, B, and C in that query letter. You better have A, B, and C in that query letter. Now, if you do get representation, great, congratulations. If you don't, doesn't mean you won't be able to get some down the road. Now, once you do get representation, keep in mind, they will own your book. So if they feel your book needs to change, it will need to change. And that's pros and cons there. They have dealt with other novels that are similar to yours, and they feel, okay, we want to go in a different direction and make XYZ changes. And guess what? You need to make those changes. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. Now, with self-publishing, is a great route for someone that wants to start with their platform and wants control of their book. And self-publishing is that. You own the process from womb to tomb. But if you don't know what you're getting yourself involved in, you will learn quickly. So what you need to do is make sure that if you're the kind of person that needs help in the technical sense, or someone to keep you in line, you need to get that team together. So in other words, if you don't know something, how to put a website together, you need to teach yourself or get someone to be able to do that for you. Also, understand the risk is all there and it's all on you, but so is all the profit. But no matter what option you take, understand that you will always need to sell. There is nothing or no one that is doing all that work for you. You, as the author, is always in need to sell that book. To speak a little bit more on self-publishing, that's the route that I went with, because I didn't get too much luck with traditional publishing. Being a new author, I was not someone that had a really good platform, which was fine. It really drove me to stay with my plan and seeing my dream come true. So self-publishing was the route that I went with, and Amazon.com was a venue that I picked because it worked really well with customer service, being able to answer my questions. CreateSpace.com being a site that has a direct to order instead of them holding a library of your books and feeling the pressure of needing to sell and being taxed until you do. So that was a really great opportunity to do that. Now, I'm speaking a lot of Amazon.com, but there are other venues you can pick from. Lulu.com, Lulu.com, is another option you can pick as well. Just do your research and pick the best option for you. Just understand, read the details, because just because you can sell your book in one site doesn't mean you can sell it on the other, because there are sites that will be in competition with each other. So keep that in mind. But no matter what, just understand that you're doing all this work because you have this dream, and that feeling of acknowledgement is worth all the headaches that you go through. Trust me, when someone talks to you about this character that you were working on for months on end, and they get it, they played in this sandbox that you created, and they said, we want more, it's going to be worth all the pain that you went through and you suffered through. Fourth point, tips on marketing. So this is the point where you've already finished your book, you created the book cover, you selected the venue, you're ready to market. The things that I came across when I first created my novel was create a strategy for my launch. You have options in that when you create your hard copy, you can create a e-copy at the same time. What that does is increases your distribution. The more people that sees your book, the more likely they'll buy it. And the more likely they buy it, the more likely they talk about it and share it. You can also create your e-copy later. So you can basically advertise your book twice. And that's just more buzz that you can strategize around later. So there's pros and cons around that. So that's something for you to consider. Also in marketing, consider budgeting. So at this point, if you already spent your money, or the majority of it, consider free sites. Facebook, you can create a page on. You can always go to Twitter. So if you're going to events, it's as easy as typing a post. And a great thing that I heard from Tom Knowles, was someone that I took a marketing class on Udemy.com. It no longer gets to a point where what you wrote, but what you can market. So just be able to market your novel and market it well, and you'll be able to sell. With advertising, it's going to be trial and error. I myself went through several trial and error attempts. And it's all about understanding what your strategy is and see if whatever your attempt is, see if it works. And if it doesn't, move on. My examples that I list are these. My first one was I piggyback on a bi-weekly email with an author that sent emails to his readership. Steve Acorn is his name, and it's someone that taught on Udemy.com as well. And great guy, a great opportunity, but did not increase my sales. So I decided, okay, let me go on a podcast. And I was able to join a podcast from my writer's group lead, Ninja podcast. If you have the opportunity, check it out. And that was a great conversation. We had a few laughs. 3 sales. Guess who? The same 3 guys on the podcast. So I did other podcasts, and just in regards to writing and things of that nature, but I moved on to other opportunities to see where else I can, sell my book. So I decided to go and try to create some flyers. And, the same person that's helping me with this video, decided to see if he can help me with the flyer as well. That did not help me as well. So, if it doesn't help you get visibility, increase in sales, or any kind of buzz, you move on from that strategy and create something that does. What I learned in my experience with advertising? Sell yourself. What I started to do initially was this guy with a top hat and cane and, hey, buy my book, please buy my book, buy my book. And, it was really shallow. And people can see through shallow. So when talking to people, still be yourself. Ask them how the day was and let the conversation happen naturally. If you don't talk about your book, that's fine. Karma will work for you. Down the road, they will remember you when you need help. Or they will remember you if someone brings up a conversation in regards to something that you brought up. And, conversations will go into writing eventually. Just remember just to be yourself. And sell to your market when the topic does come up. But again, be yourself. Show that passion. That it's not about you selling your book because you want to make money. It's because you love writing. Because you're a person that wrote short stories for free online because someone requested the short story. That's the people that follow authors on their websites and library conventions and so forth. Be yourself. So we're nearing the end of the presentation. So I want to say thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions or any comments that you loved what I brought up, that you like to invite me to your writing groups meetings, I would bring the chips, just provide the soda. I would absolutely love an invite. You can contact me at the sites I provided below. And if you are interested in buying my book, it's available on Amazon.com. You can look under Family Business. Now, remember what I said about doing research? Well, Family Business is not the most original title in the world. So you can also look it up under my name, Tom Bervian. Thank you for listening to me throughout my entire presentation. I'd like to end on this note. There's a line from Steve Harvey's book, Act Like Success, Think Like Success, that was just a perfect gem that I just had to add. In that, he says, you have to be your first cheerleader on the road towards success. And that's just a perfect line to end on, because people will read your enthusiasm and your passion in your pages. So keep that passion, keep that enthusiasm, and everything else will come together for you towards the end. I promise you, it will come together. Thank you again.